G'day, good evening, and welcome everyone to our 5th interview with yet another voice actor from Grandia. Today we are interviewing the one and only Mr. Tim Bosley, the voice of the epic Colonel Mullen. Let's get straight into it. Welcome everyone. If you are watching live on Twitch, thank you very much for being here. If you're watching it on YouTube, thank you very much. Alright, let's get into it. And one more thing. You see that amazing art piece right there? If you want to get one done by the artist, it's twitter.com/QuillWarrior. I will put the link in the information. Alrighty. Let's get this show on the road. Just bear with me 1 second.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Bosley.
Hey, Davey. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, sir? We are live on Twitch right now, by the way.
I'm very well today. Looking forward to the call today.
Oh, yeah, me too. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come and do it. I completely didn't realize it's the 4th of July weekend there in America, so really, thank you so much.
Big 3-day weekend this weekend, so.
That is awesome.
Our independence.
Hell yes. Just bear with me a second while I sort out the audio. I just need to make sure people can hear you as well as me. So people in the chat, that's pretty much bang on. People are saying that's better. I think we're fine to go. Is there any time constraints or anything like that I should know about? It usually goes on about 60 to 90 minutes average.
No, yeah, I've allotted that much time, Davey, so we're good to go.
That's brilliant. If anything comes up or you want to take a break, grab water or anything, just say the word and I can pause whenever. It's not a problem, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, you really do sound just like Mullen. Like, I must say, people in the chat are saying it. Like, yeah, like he's Wow.
I listened to the clip she sent me, and I thought, I don't sound that much different. I can hear some resemblance there still after 25 years or so.
Yeah, that's crazy. And of course, right on cue, I've got housemate suddenly making noise. Apologies if that filters through the microphone. Alrighty. So let's get this show on the road, shall we?
Let's do it.
Alright, so how did you get into the arts to begin with?
Well, back in the mid 90s, I don't know, I was kind of, I guess, searching for something, just something missing in life. And saw, I think it was there used to be something called the Learning Exchange here in California. And I went and did that, some kind of acting class or acting conference or something like that, and was like, yeah, this is kind of interesting. So just took it from there, just started doing a bunch of acting classes, and ended up getting an agent, and really enjoyed it. And the voice work was, I took a voiceover class with that same Learning Exchange, and that was fun as well. It was just a chance to kind of step outside yourself and be a character, and it was really fulfilling at the time. So
That's real cool.
Yeah.
So had you done like much acting, like full-on paid roles before Grandia?
No, I hadn't. I'd probably done it for maybe a couple of years. Had never done any voiceover work before, and so no, I had not.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. So we'll get right into obviously the reason that you're here. How did you end up landing the gig in Grandia?
I've got to think, and I don't really recall, but I got to think I had done some kind of, must have been a phone interview, or, because they didn't really care what I looked like. So must have been I don't remember exactly, but it had to be a phone call and a phone interview, just to kind of gauge your voice or how you'd fit. And I'm sure I'd submitted I'm sure my agent, it was probably through my agent actually. So at the time, who got me set up with that. But
All right, that's real cool. So like, did they tell you much when you were auditioning and when they said you got the part? Did they tell you much about the story? Did you get a chance to see much of the script?
no. Honestly, I think back at it now, and now that we're doing this now, and you've kind of lit the fire under me again, I wish I would have known more of the story and seen more of the script. It would have been really neat to interact with the other actors at the time, or the voice actors, just to really play off them more. You just kind of, you go in there, and they, you see these lines, and you read them out multiple times, and till they get their take that they want. And it's really out of context.
Yeah, because I mean, because obviously, yeah, I've spoken with the other voice actors as well, and it's all, yeah, everyone was recorded separately, which is a shame, especially with Mullen, because Mullen like interacts. He has like specific scenes with a lot of characters. Like in the beginning, there's a scene with him, Justin, and Sue, and Lieutenant Lean. There's a part in the game where it's him and Feena. And like obviously they're talking back and forth, but it sounds like that you're actually in the same room. So you must have been directed really well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're sitting in a sound studio, and you've got basically your lines, and they might give you a little sense of, hey, this is, in reading or in seeing the clips you sent me and listening to them, that Lean was, kind of Mullen's love interest in the end, or I'm sure they had kind of said, you gotta express that, emote that feeling of some sort to so it's totally out of context. But in fact, I was going to ask you, Davey, because I don't really know, and I've never played the game. What is the premise of Grandia?
Putting me on the spot, right? It's not like I'm speaking live in front of 20 or so diehard Grandia fans are going to catch out any little thing wrong. Oh, the premise of Grandia. So it's basically adventure, the spirit of adventure. Okay. It's this kid, Justin. His dad was an adventurer. His dad had passed away, so he just lives with his mum, and he wants to leave his small town with his best friend, Sue. And eventually he does. He gets a pass from an old adventurer and gets on the boat and goes to the new world, Alencia. And it's on this boat that he meets Feena. And the whole time he's got this thing called a spirit stone that his father passed down to him, that he honestly doesn't know if it's real or not. He ends up going into like these old ruins, which the Garlisle forces have been trying to also intercept. Colonel Mullen is in the Garlisle forces. Turns out the spirit stone is real and actually activates all these old ruins, which makes the Garlisle forces are constantly chasing after Justin because they want the spirit stone because they want to like take over the world.
Okay.
That's like, if you ask me to sum up Grandia in like 2 minutes, that's basically okay. It. Like, there's a hell of a lot more to it. Like,
sure, but, I'm sure there is, but that gives me a sense of what's going on there.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to big it up, aren't I? But, you know, it truly did change my life and a lot of other people's lives. I think everyone who's listening on the chat right now is probably just like, yeah, everyone's got a story of how it changed their life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great to hear.
And Mullen is like, you know, I mean, obviously he starts as a villain, but he does redeem himself without trying to spoil it for you. Like, he does redeem himself towards the end. Like, Justin and Mullen are kind of like rivals, like two sides of the same coin, in a way.
Okay.
So, yeah. So anyway, back to my list. Sudden pop quiz. Everyone's taking the mick at me in the chat. So were you at the time, I take it, so you were just saying like how your agent like just passed it to you and said like, here's another gig. Were you specifically looking to get into video game voice work, or were you just taking any gig you could get at the time?
Oh, I would take anything they gave me at the time. So right. As a new actor and only a few years in, it was like, yeah, you tell me to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's Hollywood for you. You know, well, that's California. That's the acting business.
Exactly.
You know? So you don't. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Down. I wasn't in the position to turn things down, so it really sounded fun as well. So, and it was.
So, did you audition only for Colonel Mullen, or do you remember going for other characters?
No, I think I was just specifically for that character only. Is what they thought I would be best suited for.
That's interesting, because some of the actors actually did multiple parts, believe it or not.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that they had done, a few had done a couple of different characters. And
yeah, but you're only credited as Mullen, so it's highly likely that, right. It's definitely your only part. And obviously, you do it amazingly. So you were saying about the audition, so you remember it was just basically over the phone, gauging your voice?
Yeah, just... I think they just wanted to hear the texture in your voice and whether that suited what they had in mind. And, fortunately for me, it did. And, I think the studio was I think it was down in San Jose, actually, San Jose, California. So
I believe so, yeah.
Drove down there one morning, and I think it was, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 hours at the most. To read everything that you need to, and they send you on your way.
Yeah, there you go. That's literally what every single one of the actors has said so far. They go down there. Usually it's done in a day or two. Like, bam. Just magic is made in like just one fell swoop. It's really amazing. So
they might have sent me a game. I can't recall, but I know my cousin at the time, who was a lot younger than I was, had I believe it was at the PS1 that was played on?
Indeed it was. And you would have been sent, because all the other actors so far I've spoken to were sent a copy of the game. So I'd say it's highly likely you were given one.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think he was about the only person I knew who had a PS1. So I gave him my copy. And now I'm wondering if he still has it, because I'd love to have it again.
That's awesome. I know that... Mullen's father, General Bull, Mr. Scott Beers, who was my previous interview, I know he's still got his copy. Like,
Yeah,
and it, like,
now I wish I'm going to ask him. I'm going to see him next month. I'm going to ask him if he still has that copy of that game, because I gave it to him since he had a PS1, and I obviously I was part of the Atari days from back in the 80s, so I kind of missed the Sony sweep, and my son's on the PS4 now, so
that's cool.
but I want to get my copy back.
Yeah. Hopefully he still has it. Like, it's a rare. The PS1 copy is actually quite rare. Like, let alone it being Colonel Mullen's own copy. And if you do fire it up, you will hear Mullen like within the intro. He's one of the first voices you'll hear.
Yeah, no, yeah, you've stoked my fires again. So I want to get a sense of it again. Maybe give it a few plays.
Oh, that'd be great. People would love to see that if you live streamed it. Like, Colonel Mullen plays Grandia for the first time. Right?
Yeah, I like it.
So the recording process. I know I'm asking to cast your mind back over 20 years, so I'm not expecting like massive memory here. But do you remember what it was like? Do you have any like fun stories, like maybe specific lines that you remember doing or being easier or difficult?
I don't remember anything specifically. I thought it was just an interesting process. Just, I had never thought about it or knew how anything was made such as that. And it was just, I found it really fascinating the way they kind of did the voice work. And it was kind of weird just being by yourself and you're just, hey, say this, and you say it and they might go, well, say it a little differently, or say it with a little more excitement, or, they know how the game's going. I don't necessarily do. They know how they want the character to be coming off at this particular scene. At least I think they did. I'm sure they did. So,
yeah. I was told. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, David.
Oh. Sorry, it's always because of the delay. It sometimes makes it hard to know when to chime in. But just while I've got it in my head, one of the things the other actors said was like a bit more difficult with the recording process was having to record the sounds of like taking a hit, taking a light hit, taking a heavy hit. So you have to be like, like. Do you remember doing those?
I do. Yeah, yeah. You're just little, like you said, just whatever. All those little sounds that you gotta kind of bring up that feeling of actually taking the punch or getting hit, or however that might what might evoke that sound, and try to feel it. But we did have those little sounds to record as well, in addition to the lines.
Yeah, that's because I think it's only once in the game where you actually do fight Mullen, like Justin and Mullen like face off. So like, yeah, I can imagine some of those lines. I know one of Mullen's moves. He doesn't have a lot, but I know one of them is like flying dragon cut, and he just. So you were probably just told with no context whatsoever to just go,
right,
rip you to shreds, yeah, like.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and like you said, there is no real context, Yeah.
So. Especially the intro, because I know that one of the first lines you hear from Mullen, he goes like, Operation Yggdrasil is entering its final stage. You must have been looking at that like, what the hell is that? Like,
yeah, I watched those clips and I saw that Yggdrasil, and I was like, I wonder what I, at the time, thought I'm sure I mispronounced the word, and I'm sure they had to tell me what the proper pronunciation was, because I wouldn't have got that out of looking at that, how that came out. But
well, I mean, like, I don't even know if it's a real word. Like, I've never heard of the word before or since. So maybe you actually decided how it's pronounced.
Like, maybe you're right.
I don't know. Oh yeah, Sonic Boom from it's Sonic Boom, rip you to shred. Yeah, see, even I get mixed up. Like, so I probably already know the answer to this, but did you get a chance to meet any of the other cast at all?
I did not. No, wish I would have.
Well, we can fix that down the road, sir. Don't you worry about that.
Wish we could have all been, doing like a table reading or something like that. That would have been fun. And I think it could have given a lot more texture too. But, I
It could.
realize that's probably hard on them to try to assemble people like that. But
Well,
I really think we can
better late than never.
feed off people like that.
Because another interesting thing to know with Grandia is because of the space limitations of the PS1 at the time, not all of the lines are voiced. Only about maybe 20%, if that, of the script is actually voiced. The rest is just text on the screen. So
Okay.
there's room there for, like, I know for a fact Mullen's got a load of lines that aren't read. So there's room there to, like, go back, re-record. You never know.
I'd be thrilled to do that.
That is really
I'd reprise my role as Mullen in a heartbeat.
That is really good to know, and everyone in the chat will be very happy to hear that. So, do you remember at all what your relationship with the directors and the producers was like, when you were actually in the studio?
It seems to me that it was more just the there may have been some guys there, and I may not have realized it, but it just seemed like it was more of the voice recording artists, and there had to be someone else there who, like you say, who knew the story, knew how they wanted it to be, knew how they wanted the lines to sound, and I may not have just realized it at the time that that person was there, because you're kind of in a sound booth by yourself, and they're outside of that sound booth, and directing you from outside, and so there very well may have been someone there. I never interacted with them necessarily.
Fair enough.
That I recall.
I can say, like, this is the names that are in the credits of, like, producers and directors. I don't know if they're going to, like, ring a bell, but maybe they will. There's just 4 names I've got. Perry Rogers, Buzz Burrows, Tom Myers, and Gary Rydstrom.
Yeah, none of them ring a bell, but I like you're there. One of them had to be there. Some of them, or all of them, or someone had to be there, because it's ultimately they're, I guess it was probably originally a Japanese game? Got remade, or
it was indeed, yeah,
for America, or
it was actually made for the Sega Saturn in Japan. It actually came out originally in 1997.
Okay.
And then Sony decided. I think it was Sony decided that they wanted it to get ported to the PS1. And they decided, because obviously there was already Japanese voices on it, but they were like, okay, we're going to need English voices on it. So that's when you guys were hired.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm sure one of those, the names don't ring a bell, but I'm sure one or all or some of them had to have been there.
Yeah, that's fine. As I say, to you it was a gig. It'd be like massive to see, like, if anyone can actually remember the producers. But to you it was a job, right? You didn't have no idea it was gonna, like, be world famous years later. Like.
No, I'm happy, very very happy that it is now, and I realize I never even knew it had any following. I'm thrilled that it does.
Oh, believe me, it does. It's not like as big as, like, Final Fantasy or anything like that, but the following, it's got a cult following without a doubt. The people that follow it, love it.
I think it's great.
That's great. So with the script, do you remember if you were allowed, like, any creative input, like with certain lines, like were you able to change a word here and there or anything like that?
No, I don't. I think I pretty much had to read it like it was written. I don't remember getting any creative liberty to kind of put my own spin on it. I think it was the line, and you could put in different emotions to it that maybe they would like, maybe they wouldn't. But as far as changing the words, no, I don't. They weren't. I don't remember them telling me to mix it up or improvise. It was read the line, and we'll play with the emotions of the how you deliver it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the lines, like we're getting to that portion, which the chat will know exactly what I mean. We're getting to that portion of the Grandia actor interview. Just a fair warning, we near enough killed Scott Beers when we got to this part. He ended up having to lie down on his sofa. So if it gets too much, please do just say. But obviously, yeah, I sent you a few videos of like some classic Mullen lines.
Right.
What would you say is your favorite?
I think I liked. I'm going to pull that up because I liked. What was that? Was it the? Well, the ending speech was good. I liked when he reunites with Lean.
Do you think you could give us a line or two from the ending speech?
Yeah, let me pull that up again. See what we got there. Pull up the line you sent me here. Apologize for not having them memorized, but
it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Ironically, everyone here in this chat has got them memorized except you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're right. A new history of mankind will begin. A history you will desire. He may sometimes travel down a mistaken path, but it will be all right. I am sure that we will be able to open new paths to travel upon.
That is real good. Yeah. That is great. It's really scary how much you still sound like Mullen. Like, that is insane.
Yeah, I agree with you, Davey. I was listening to the lines and thought, that still sounds like my voice. And it was funny. I looked at the artwork you sent for the promotion, or with the cigarettes and the coffee, and that's probably what I had started off that morning with. I haven't smoked a cigarette in a while, but at that time, that was probably my morning start out. So
well, there you go. That is amazing. That is amazing. That was done by a very good friend of mine called Quill.
Okay.
And you can see like on the Twitch right now, like, I've got that picture up and it's got like his signature on that. And he like very kindly, I didn't give him that long to do it. He only had like 2 weeks to knock that up, maybe 3 weeks at the most. And he did it completely for free, just for the love of it. So big up Quill. So I'll just do a little shout out here for him. If anyone wants to get artwork like that by Quill, just quote Valentine with a Y and you'll get 20% off. So go ahead. And moderators, please put, yep, they've already posted in his link.
Yeah, that was good artwork there.
Yeah, and you had, that's literally how you probably prepared for the lines. So like
probably
spot on.
So.
Because it's funny, because funnily enough, we were like debating back and forth. We were like, should we make him smoke? I don't even know if he would have smoked, but maybe he did. Like, Mullen seems the type of smoke. I don't know. Are people going to kick off that? We're like, all right, leave the cigarette in. Like, so, don't worry, Quill. We make the right decision.
Yeah, no, it was probably very apt for that time in my life, because I'm sure I had that morning and was hoping it wasn't a. You hope it's not the cigarette-induced voice that sometimes cigarettes produce, but I think it's carried through the years, so it's still sounds somewhat the same.
I mean, yeah, I've even heard of like singers that will say like, yeah, I have to have a cigarette before I go and sing in the studio, because it unlocks certain things in the throat, in the voice.
Yeah, it brings out a different texture to your voice, that smoke, and brought me back to that time when I saw that artwork and was like, that's probably how that morning went. And hopefully it just wasn't that smoky sound that was generated, and it still sounds somewhat the same. And I think it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, did you say you've kicked the habit now?
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't probably smoked a cigarette in, I don't know. It's probably been 20 years or so. So.
Well, I hope seeing that picture doesn't like cause a relapse or anything like that. You know, like, I don't want to be responsible for that. That'd be too much on my shoulders.
Right. No, I won't. I won't hold you accountable for that.
Congratulations on quitting, though. You know, I know it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it certainly isn't.
Anyway, okay, back to my list here. We are like shooting through these, but that means it'll leave more time for the fans in the chat to ask their questions, which is always like, you know, quite key. So yeah, were you notified when the game was released on the PlayStation?
I don't remember getting a notification. Like I said, like I said, I do remember having the game, and like I said, I gave it to my cousin, but and I guess that was my indication of, yeah, this must be out now. Or I don't know if they gave me any kind of advanced copy. I doubt it, but and like I said, I didn't have a PS1, so I had kind of passed my video game time at that time of my life, and
Fair enough.
So unfortunately, no, I don't. Looking back on it now, and knowing that that it had such following, I wish I would have invested in a PS1 and played the game.
That's all right. I mean, you weren't to know. Do you remember, like, did your cousin, like, say to you when he tried out these, like, yeah, you're at the beginning of the game, it's you? Like,
yeah, and I looked at the credits, and I looked at the, and he thought it was cool. He was probably, gosh, he must have been, I don't know, 15 at the time or something like that. So it was cool for him, and it was cool for me too.
Yeah.
And he was playing it, and I'm gonna, like I said, I think I'm gonna see him next month, and I'm gonna ask him about it again.
That's real cool, because, like, yeah, some of the other actors, like, their kids have, like, gone out. I think it was Feena, yeah, Angela Anderson, who is both. She does two characters. She's both Justin's mum and his love interest. And once you know that fact, it creeps you out forevermore, but we won't dwell on it. But her kid went out and got a copy of the game and was like, look what I got.
That's neat. Yeah, we played some, after that first kind of, you reached out and I reached back out, and, I played. I think my son found some clips, and he found some clips, and we listened to him, and I said, go play these for your mom and your sister and see if they recognize the voice. And they both said, yeah, it sounds familiar. And they rattled off maybe some celebrities or something. And they didn't know.
You said it, yeah, you don't recognize your own father and husband's voice.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah, I gave them a little test and they failed.
And that's funny, because didn't you say that you actually had done that only about a month before I got in contact with you?
I was at a work conference, and I was talking about some of my acting things that I had done, and I had done it was either a music video or a public service announcement, and the guy from Naughty by Nature, an old rap band from, I think, the early 90s, was part of this video that I was doing down in San Francisco. And I was trying to find it, and I wasn't successful in finding that. But as I was searching, I realized my name popped up on the, that IMDb.
Yeah.
As a credit for Grandia. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And, not more than, like, I don't know, it was probably a month later, you reached out, and I was like, well,
that is the hands of fate and destiny,
one of those
dude.
Things where I hadn't thought about it, and, since I did it, basically, and all of a sudden I'm looking at it, and then, bam, there you are. And it's like,
that's crazy, because I've been looking for you, I'd been looking for you for quite a while at that point, Like, I'm a gaming detective, you know, I try and find, I'm sort of a bit of a private eye. It's like, you know, I do it for fun. I call it professional stalking, you know.
How did you end up actually finding me? Or did
Oh,
you just?
I usually make sure to make a note of this so that it doesn't come across like creepy or anything. I think it was just Facebook. I think I literally had gotten to the point where I was like, I'm going to message every. No, it was through your company. It was through the Bosley Electric Company.
Okay.
That was how because I remember coming across it and I was like, I don't think Mullen would have gone from being a voice actor to president of an electric company. But then as I started, there was like an author called Tim Bosley, and I messaged him. It wasn't him. There were a few others that I messaged, got no response, and I was just like, and I kept coming back to Bosley Electric Company. I was like, you know what? I'll just drop a message. I think I sent an email to like your accounts department or something, whatever your on the company website. I didn't get a response, but then I did some digging, and I managed to find the president, which is obviously you, the president's like email address, and I was just like, they probably left this online by mistake because I'm probably more than likely not supposed to have this and be able to send an unsolicited email. What the hey, I'll do it anyway. And lo and behold, it was just like, yep, it was like response that night, and I was just like, got him, we got him.
we have found him.
Yes, it is. It genuinely is. As someone like this is the fifth time I've done this. You're the fifth Grandia actor I've found. Every time I manage to look at one, I get that confirmation of, yes, it's me. Yes, I'm happy to do the interview. It's just like, yes.
How many voice actors were there?
I think like 10 in total. So this marks like the halfway point because like some of them literally only did like one line. There is like there's one kid called Nicky, who literally only has one line. And obviously some actors did multiple parts. And then there's other characters which like are so small they don't go credited, but like people keep nagging me to find them. Like right at the beginning of the game, there's this character who punches Justin in the face, and we all refer to him as Shed Guy. And it's now like every time I say I've got an announcement, everyone like takes the mick and just goes, "It's going to be Shed Guy." Oh, I think he's found Shed Guy. Like, and I'm like, why are you obsessed? He has one flipping line. Like, I don't think he has one more at the end of the game. And it's like, but yeah, it's
he's impactful though, the Shed Guy.
Yeah, you know, it's it is. Well, he is legendary. I mean, like all of the characters, especially because you remember it was one of the first games to have voice acting. Like Final Fantasy didn't get voice acting until the next game that came out in the series after Grandia, which was 10, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, as far as PS1 RPGs with voice acting, you know, there wasn't that many of them. It was very much a novelty to have voices, and as I say, you know, they couldn't voice every line. So they had to pick the lines, you know, that would get voiced. And, you know, I think they did there's some scenes where you're like, why the F is this not voiced? I think Mullen might have one or two lines like that where, like, they're not talking and then they are talking, then they're not talking again. Like, but yeah, you know, I mean, obviously this is just our interview, you know, get to know each other. But maybe down the line, if you were up for, like, you know, as you said, reprising Mullen, voicing those lines that weren't voiced, I know they blow the fans' minds, like without a doubt.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay, and I noticed that some people are putting questions in the chat for Tim. I'm not ignoring you. Just make sure that you've got it on copy paste, and when we get to the fan question portion, we'll make sure everyone has a chance to ask questions, okay? Don't worry, guys. Just make sure you got it on copy. I'll make sure everyone gets a chance to say one statement or say one question, hopefully maybe two, depending on how we are for time and that. And yeah. I'll just letting the chat know that, like, you know, I'm not ignoring them.
Sure.
Okay, so were you notified at all that the game actually got re-released and remastered about 3 years ago?
Definitely not. No, I was not notified of that.
So yeah, it's not like a remake or anything. It's just a remastering where, you know, they polished up the graphics and a couple of other things, and it's been re-released on the Steam platform for, you know, playing games on the PC, and also
Okay.
the Nintendo Switch. Are you familiar with either of those?
Yeah. I mean, my son has a Switch, and I think he's done Steam before. So now that you say it, I'll tell him to check it out. Or is it just like the old one? Or I mean,
Yeah,
obviously I wouldn't know, but
yeah.
I'll
To
talk to
be
the
honest,
experts.
yeah, it's pretty
But
much exactly the same. The only big difference, I'm probably going to get like told that I'm mistaken here in the chat here, but the only like major difference in terms of gameplay is that there was a bug in the PS1 version where you can't do some of Feena's final magic moves because they screwed up the learning requirements for them. So you're supposed to be like level 23 water and wind, and it's actually like 99.99. Like that's like a big
oh,
glitch. Oh, you
so
okay?
they fixed that in this new version.
Yeah. Yeah, they think I'd recommend like if you're going to start, then it's probably the easiest way to do it is either the Steam version or the Nintendo Switch.
Okay. So do they just call it the same name and everything, and
Yeah,
just
yeah, literally just type in Grandia on the Steam store or the Switch store. I think it's quite hard to get a physical copy for the Switch now. They are quite expensive, but you can get a digital copy. I think it's like $15, maybe $10, $15, something like that.
okay? Do Nintendo and Sony have a relationship, or is it just
Um,
released to anyone? Or
when it comes to the
I know.
business stuff, that is probably the one thing I am not that clued in about. All I do know is that I spoke to one person, like one executive person, I won't say from which company, and they said, yeah, the thing with Grandia is it's sort of partially owned by 3 different companies, so it's
Oh,
it's a bit difficult really. So I'm not really sure on that. I'm sure Sony and Nintendo do have some sort of a relationship because there's like Final Fantasy characters in Super Smash Brothers, so I'm sure they do communicate.
okay.
Oh, and I'm getting
Were any
told
of the
here.
other voice actors, Davey,
Pardon?
notified? Were any of the other voice actors notified, or
Um, I think Feena, Angela Anderson, she only found out about it, as I say, because when her daughter went out and bought it for the Switch and then just came back and was like,
oh,
oh. But yeah, none of them received like a notification or anything like that. Because obviously it was a non-union gig, as
sure,
far as I know, it was non-union.
yeah, it
Um,
was.
so yeah, like they're not under any contractual obligation to notify you guys. I mean, it would have been nice if they did, but they probably don't even know how to contact you guys, you know.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. Um,
But
yeah,
you know,
I
if
had.
anyone from Gung Ho America or Sony or Game Arts is somehow listening to this interview and you want to be in touch with the actors, well, drop me a message.
Right,
I can put you in touch.
right.
So yeah, getting to this next question I got here. Oh, and someone's just told me that the official name on the store for the game is Grandia 1 and 2 in Roman numerals, HD
Okay,
Remaster. But
okay.
if you just put in Grandia, I'm sure it will come up. If you have any trouble finding it, just drop me a message. I will definitely get a link for you.
Yeah, no,
Not a problem.
I'll tell my son to look for it for his Switch, so I can actually see it. Maybe give it a go.
Yeah, that would be great. So moving on from the Grandia part of your life and that, what direction did your career take after playing Colonel Mullen? Did you continue to voice act and act in other things? What happened?
I never. That was my only voice work I ever did. I wish I would have done more. I really enjoyed it and seeing the behind the scenes process of it. I did continue to act for probably another couple of years, and then I met my soon to be wife in 1998 and got married in 99 and couldn't as a single guy, it's real easy to be an actor and not make much money, and because you're only worried about yourself. But as my life shifted gears, I got involved in the family electrical business and stayed in that. Well, have stayed in that that role for quite almost since that time. So
Oh, that's cool. Do you want to tell us a bit about like your the Bosley Electric company? Like, did you? I mean, obviously, would you have just gone in as because I know your father was the original founding president. Is that correct?
right, my folks founded the company in 1991, and I was involved in it. I was involved in it from about when I graduated. I went to UC Davis, and I graduated college in 1993. And I worked in the company business, kind of off and on, and really the off and on part is I wanted to be, I wanted to be an actor, and I was really close to moving to I live in Sacramento now, but I was really close to moving to Hollywood in it was about July, August of '98, because I was starting to do some actors conferences and these trainings, and if you really want to be an actor, you kind of got to go where the actors are, even though it's
Yeah.
very competitive and a very low chance of success, but you got to kind of be where it is to really give it a full go. And like I said, I met my wife in July of '98, and I was heading down. I was going to stop working at Bosley Electric at the end of August of '98, moved to LA, and life took me on a different path. So, but I've pretty much been in the electrical business ever since.
Oh, fair enough. So, did you like start off like working as like a straight up electrician, like going to people's homes and fixing their electrics and stuff?
I did a couple of summers, as an electrician or as a, yes, I did a little bit, but I have mostly always been in the office, in an office role, and as a estimator, as a project manager, various different roles. We're not a super large business, so being a business owner sometimes sounds more glamorous than it really is, because you're involved in everything, and the good and the bad stop with you. So, but
Fair play.
it's been fulfilling.
Well, I was only asking because, like, I imagine that you're probably going to get one or two phone calls being like, "Hey, can Colonel Mullen come and like fix my electrics? Like, I'll pay double." Like,
Right.
you get there and like they've just like kicked their TV on purpose, like.
Right. Colonel Mullen to the rescue.
Yeah, people would do that. Especially if they're in California, it would not surprise me. Would not surprise me. Like, you could do it as like an advertising campaign, like have Mullen come around, fix your electrics. Like,
I better find the costume, and I better find some hair too, because I don't have those golden locks of Mullen.
You can get hair pieces and that. People cosplay all the time. All right. So, like, was there any like other acting roles? Like, were you ever like on any big shows or anything like that you could tell us about, like, or films or anything like that?
I did one small film that a guy produced that I was the lead actor on with another lady, and that was called What a Gem. And I've looked for it on YouTube. I've looked for it all over the place, and that's Gem with GEM.
What a gem.
Yep. And it was done by a guy named Jay Beverly. He was the director.
If you can put an email together with all the information that you possibly know about that film, I'll see what I can do about finding it for you.
Put the super sleuth Davey on it. I like it. Yeah, because I think I've got a copy of that somewhere on probably a VHS tape, as a matter of fact. It was that long ago. But so I did that. I did probably one of my most unique commercials I did. I played a naked guy for the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandise. And that was it was before the Grandia role. So that was fun. Did that out in Berkeley, California, in a morning shoot where the guy, he's got fashion limitations, I guess, so doesn't know how to dress. And it was actually, luckily I wasn't fully naked. They give you a little, like a skin-colored Speedo to wear in a robe when you're in between scenes. But
yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, me and all the chat right now are just imagining Colonel Mullen doing that. I'm not going to lie. Guarantee you that's what's in all of our heads right now. Like, but that is cool.
It was cool. And I did a Papa Murphy's commercial, which is a pizza chain here. I did some public service announcements where I played a cop in one. I played a cop in a couple of roles. I think I must have had that authoritative look. Maybe that's my Mullen look. I just had that
it's in the voice.
Look of some sort.
Definitely in the voice. Do you ever
really,
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I really only got to act for about 4 years. So, and that was then I got married, had children, and my acting is, I'm not going to say it's done because I'm just saying it's on hold. I'd like to take up that mantle again.
Well, hey, and maybe Grandia could be the way to do it. I mean, you do sound just like Mullen still. This is why, one of my big dreams is to, Final Fantasy VII got a massive remake. Resident Evil 2 got a massive remake. Both iconic PS1 games that now 20 years later the technology's caught up where they can really do it justice. I see no reason they can't do the same thing with Grandia. And I can tell you that all of the cast that I've spoken to so far have said, yeah, I'll reprise my role, no problem.
Yeah. Well, I think you and the fans should be the impetus behind the Grandia remake. Then we can...
well, that's really what I'm putting
roles and bring them back to life.
That's what I'm pushing for. A man can dream. If you'd have told me 7 months ago when I first found my first cast interview that by next July, you're gonna talk to Feena, Mullen, Bull, Guido. I'd be like, no way.
So, is that when you got started with searching about 7 months ago, or right at the start of 22, or?
Well, I used to just, because I do private eye work for fun, right? I actually found my dad's long lost half sister, as well as his old best friend. I found them for him, just to be nice, and it was a good feeling, messaging someone, especially when it was my dad's little sister. They hadn't seen in 20 years, and she was on the phone to me crying, and I'm just yeah, he lives in the same town. You can go and see him right now. I can give you the address. And it's
wow.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty good at this. So I was just And then I was Grandia is my favorite game. And then I started my Twitch channel, in 2020, when everyone was put into quarantine. I was just this could be an idea, And it turned out it was.
Right.
Yeah,
did you already know there was a big following around Grandia, or the cult following, or did you already have a sense of that, or?
Yeah, honestly, me and my best friend have always been massive fanboys of it completely, but I had no idea there was Discord servers and stuff like that of gatherings of the community until I started looking for them as a way to promote the fact that I am tracking down the voice actors. And it's so it was actually a lot huger fan base than even I realized to begin with, to be quite honest with you, Tim.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had interacted with a whole bunch of people and you knew that, or if you just have kind of discovered that on your journey here.
Yeah, it was.
Sounds like you have.
It was a discovery. Just excuse me, just for one moment, Tim. With one moment. Right. Let's continue on here. Would you say Grandia opened some doors for you early in your acting career? Have you ever been recognized from that? Did you put it on your resume?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I put it on my resume. Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember that. No, I was never. Other than you, no, I have not been recognized. But yeah, I certainly was proud of doing it, and would definitely have listed that as something I had done for sure.
Oh, that's real cool. This is a bit of an open-ended one. But what advice would you give to someone who wants to voice act in video games like you did?
I would say just don't be afraid to try. I mean, and don't think that you don't have a voice for just because maybe it doesn't sound like what you think something would sound like. You never know what someone else has in their head for what they think it should sound like, and maybe your voice is that unique voice that they're looking for. So don't ever sell yourself short, and just go for it.
I think that's pretty solid advice, 100%. Because actually, you reminded me, actually, one of the key themes and lines in Grandia, and that I think also helps sum up the game quite well, is Justin says to Feena, to a real adventurer, there is no such word as impossible. And it's like, yeah, like I think that's a good mantra to like live your life by.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like, like finding the voice actors in that, to begin with, it was just like, this seems impossible. And 5 interviews later, here we are. Like,
right. Yeah. I mean, if you set your mind to it and then you go out and get it, that's what it's about. Just going out and grabbing it and getting it.
Absolutely. You've pretty much already answered this anyway, but I've got it in my list. Were you ever invited to reprise the role of Mullen?
I haven't been. I'll look forward to the day that I am.
Yeah, because here's an interesting little tidbit for you that I bet you didn't know about. There were actually 2 sequels. I'm not talking about Grandia 2 and Grandia 3. I'm talking direct sequels to Grandia with the characters in them. The only problem was they only came out in Japan.
Oh.
So I do know that Digital Museum does have, I think it has a Mullen versus Bull, which is General Bull is Mullen's father and also the main villain. And I know that for a fact there is a Mullen versus Bull fight in there, but obviously they would have used the Japanese voices for that.
I wonder if they continued with the same original voices that they had from previous. Are you aware?
I am not, to be quite honest. I don't know that much about Digital Museum because, as I say, it's Japan only. I think people are working on English patches, but I so far haven't been able to get it to work. As far as I know, they probably would have just recycled the Japanese lines they already had.
Okay.
I don't know if they got, but yeah, it would have been Japanese only because in Japan, the voice actors for Grandia were actually like already mostly well-established voice actors. I think they were unioned. I think, I don't know for sure. And yeah, like they were like, taken extremely seriously. Whereas like, with America, it was like, oh, we'll have him, we'll have you. And it's like, for a lot of them, it's like you go on IMDb, like you said, and it will just say Grandia, nothing else.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if their budget was lower over here, which it must have been, or if they not really sure.
Alrighty. So, okay, I'm looking at the chat now. We are at that point, fans from around the world, we're at that point where you can please do 1 message per person to begin with. If you've got a statement for Mr. Bosley, or if you've got a question, now is the time to pop it in the chat. Try not to put anything else, just so I can like go through it all. I promise I will get to everyone. Trying to see how many we've got here. We've got just under 20 live viewers apparently. So thank you everyone for coming on. And this is the part. Okay. Oh, and if you have any like lines you want him to say in the Mullen voice, I'm sure. Would you be happy to do that, Mr. Bosley?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll do my best to give it justice.
None of the dialogue in Digital Museum is voiced, just the combat. So yeah, but some of the combats were redone. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, this one's from Yamina123. Says, I would just like him to know that Mr. Bosley played my favourite character in Grandia, and I loved quoting his lines before I really spoke a lot of English. So, like, before they spoke English, they like to just quote Mullen's lines.
Wow.
and it
That's
helped me
great.
to get a feeling for how to pronounce certain words. So your work actually helped them learn English.
Well, that's great to hear that it was that meaningful at the time. That's one of those unexpected byproducts for sure, and a good one.
All right, we got our first voice request here. Okay. So I think probably the easiest way for you, Tim, rather than me giving you a whole paragraph to like remember and say back to me, I'll just do like a few words and then you can say it and then I'll say some more words and then you can say it. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
However, this is our time. You, the Honourable Garlisle forces, will bring a great boon to humanity.
However, this is our time. What's the rest of that?
Oh, sorry. You, the Honourable Garlisle forces, will bring a great boon to humanity.
You, the Honourable Garlisle forces, will bring a great boon to humanity.
Go, you, the elite of Garlisle.
Go, you, the elite of Garlisle.
Will open the door to the wisdom of the ancient Angelo civilization.
Will open the door to the ancient... What was that?
Ancient Angelo civilization.
Angeli civilization.
Yeah, it's I should probably give you the context there. Like Angelo is like the ancient civilization, like of the ruins, that the Garlisle are like trying to find out about. But obviously you're not able to find it out without a spirit stone to unlock the ruins, which is why the Garlisle are like going after it.
They're after the spirit stone from Justin. Or...
Yeah, like he's like well, General Bull's obsessed with getting the spirit stone, and obviously Colonel Mullen is the running the forces, so like he has to, but he doesn't like, this is what I mean, like he does eventually I don't want to spoil the game actually for you. I don't want to spoil it. Someone's asking, Casper Pitt asks, would you be willing to play the game through yourself if your son or cousin or any other family member was to pick it up?
Yeah, I have every intention of trying to get it for the Switch, and definitely playing it and seeing what it is, and then have my son, maybe I'll have him set me up so I can live stream for someone.
That would be great.
How great that would be, but
I will happily help you out with that.
Certainly followers that might like to see that, so I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah, people would love that. That would be amazing. We've got one here. Angry Yay Noises says, not a question, but thank you for voicing my favourite character for my favourite game of all time. I love Mullen and always loved his English voice, so thank you. Heart, 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 heart.
Well, you're very welcome, and it was my pleasure, and I'm glad it has such a following, and that character has such a following that I had no idea, and I'm thrilled that it does. It really makes me smile.
That's awesome. This one comes from Raza93. Excuse me. Hello, Mr. Bosley. If one wishes to contact you in the more distant future for a paid voice gig unrelated to Grandia, how would you prefer that they contact you?
Email is good. Email is probably the best for me. And you're welcome to share that email, Davey.
I don't have it to hand right now. Could you just say what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's T Bosley, Bosley, at Bosley, ELEC.com.
All right, it's tbosley at bosleylec.com.
That's correct.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure people will type that into the chat. And yeah, I'll be sure to put it on when this goes to YouTube. I'll put it in the information below. So
sure, appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. This one comes from a very big fan of the game. I know them. Captain Riku Harlock says, Tim, thank you for your work. One of the top reasons I got into voice acting. Grandia being my favourite game of all time, it sculpted my life. Where Bull was my go-to for my villain voice, Mullen is always at the forefront when I think of charming villain. Thanks for being a key part of my childhood and giving me direction in my life.
Wow, that is something else. That is it's just so rewarding to hear these things when you just had I had no idea, but what a just a rewarding thing to hear from someone. And thank you very much for those kind words. That's just awesome.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Quill, who's the guy who does the art for these interviews, awesome dude, just says, thank you so much for voicing one of our favorite characters, Tim.
Yes, and thank you, Quill, for that wonderful artwork that was actually more apt than you thought it was.
It certainly was. And remember, guys, quote Valentine to get 20% off. I really want to get him some business because he's done such a great job for me so far, and I feel bad for not paying him, right? All right, Mr. Bosley. This one comes from Chaotic Narrative. Mr. Bosley, you and the rest of the cast are what made me want to do voice acting. I've only voiced in a still motion animation so far, and it's gone now. But hey, you got to start small there, Chaotic. You got to start small.
Yeah, just whatever. Yeah, wherever you start, it can certainly take you to other places. So it starts with that first step, and it can go from there.
That's awesome. Okay, that's me caught up on the chat at the moment. I'll just put the shout out to everyone again. If you have any statement or any questions for Mr. Bosley, now is the time to post it in the chat. Or if you have any line that you'd like him to try and say as in Mullen's voice, we'll give it a go. Obviously, within reason,
Do you have any more interviews lined up, Davey? Have you found anyone else that you're looking for?
That is a good question. As you asked me, I wasn't going to reveal, but as you asked me, I wasn't going to reveal it. But on YouTube, I do have my next person who wishes to be interviewed. I won't say who it is, but the next person is already in the bag. I can confirm. They're just wanting to, pick a date. So I said, well, let me do Mr. Bosley's interview first, and then once that's done. And published to YouTube and all of that, then I'll book the next one. Because usually it's like I'll do the interview and then I'll go on like detective mode. I'll like pick a night and I'll go in detective mode and I'll be like, right, I'm going to try and find this person today. But this time I kind of found you and them at the same time. So I was like, okay. I was like, I'll do Mullen first. And I got the next one in the bag. So Quill, I'm going to be messaging you. So obviously Quill does the artwork.
Some more artwork,
well, because he has to know. Like I have to tell him like beforehand because he does the artwork in that, right?
Right.
If he's up for it, of course. I never expect it. Such amazing work. I think he'd be interested to do it. Like we'll see. But anyway, yeah. Let me just see here what we've got in the chat. Yeah, most of us are just too appreciative to ask questions. Here's a good one. This is a good one. So right at the end of the game when Lean comes back and like Mullen's like screaming like Lean.
I do. Yeah, I remember. I watched the clip that you sent me.
Could you just reenact that? Give us a okay. So like the spirits have just come. They've revived Lean. She's just appeared, and Mullen just screams like Lean. Like could you give us that line?
Yep. Let me pull that up again real fast. There's that Lean line. 620?
They sometimes travel down a mistaken path.
You're at the right scene. I can hear it.
Yeah. It's right there. I think it's getting to where she's just about to show up, and Mullen seems generally thrilled that she has.
It seems that my work here has ended.
The spirit should be
die in the game, or I know she didn't really die, but
She basically kind of has to self-sacrifice to buy the team time, because like basically like towards the end of the game, Mullen is trying to like stop General Bull. So are Justin and Feena, but like Mullen believes like we can't use the Spirit Stone. You know, we have to use the power of Icarians, which is Feena and Lean are Icarians, so they have the wings. And Lean is originally with Mullen's plan, but then she realizes that no, it's Justin and Feena combined. They have to put their powers together. But I know that Mullen's not going to realize this, so I'm going to have to sacrifice myself to slow Bull down for a bit, and it buys them that time to then you get into the going for the final battle.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just spoiling the hell out of the game for you.
Can it be? Lean? Lean.
That's the one.
There's that music. Lean.
That is cool. Yeah, it sounds still exactly like you. Like, just maybe a teensy bit older, which is kind of like understandable given it's been 20 years. Like,
yeah, I would say that's accurate. Yeah, it was neat to see the lines in the context of the story of those clips that you sent me, and you understand so much more of where they came from and what they were trying to accomplish when you see it in the because I had never really I've never really seen the game like you sent me those clips.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
really,
it's fair
fun
enough
to see it that way in the actual context.
Oh, that's real cool. Like, you know, as I think your first playthrough will be a dream. Like, you know, if you Twitch stream it, like, you know, people would go nuts. People would love to see your reaction to it. Like, especially when you eventually get to a part where you're fighting Mullen, and you're just like, I'm fighting myself in a video game. Like,
right.
Let me see it. Tell Tim. Captain Riku says, tell Tim to come with and issue them orders. He is their colonel after all. But what order issue should I tell him to say though, Riku? Let me know what you want me to have him say, and I'll say it. Let's see. Tim said he had AirPods. Now I'm thinking about Mullen having an iPhone. So I take it you do have an iPhone there, Tim.
I do. Yeah. I have an iPhone with my AirPods, but my AirPods mic must not have been working very well. So
that's all right.
I am an Apple guy, though.
All right, here's one from Vit Jaron, voice request from Mullen. Let the Gaia Stone be.
Let the Gaia Stone be.
The true power rests in the mana eggs.
The true power rests in the mono eggs.
Soldiers, I order you to collect them now.
Soldiers, I order you to collect them now.
That is cool. The mana eggs, I should tell you, you probably don't know what they are. They're what teach the characters magic in the game. So whenever you find one, you can teach characters some new magic.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving the game a play for sure.
Here's a good one from Captain Riku. Justin, hand over the Spirit Stone.
Justin, hand over the Spirit Stone.
Or I'm FaceTiming your mother.
Or I'm FaceTiming your mother.
Oh, wow. Here we go. This is people from the Grandia fan Discord. Like, these are the mega of mega fans. Like, you know, people that will correct you on anything that you say wrong about the game, like, instantly.
Sure. Well, they would certainly know better than I.
Most of them know better than I. I mean, I consider myself a bit of a veteran of the first game, but still, like, oh, but that is funny. All right, I will. If any, I'll keep looking at the chat in case anyone has any questions or statements and that. But I'll just go back to my list here for a bit.
Sure.
There's not many left. How do you feel about your work on the game, hearing it 20 years later?
Well, I probably feel totally different now than I did then. I feel, it's not that I didn't feel proud of what I had done back then, because I did. But you don't have any ideas at the age that I was. If I was 16 at the time and I had a PS1 and I was playing video games, and maybe I'd have a different perspective on it. But since I was out of that, it kind of wasn't in that realm anymore. And, you do the work and you kind of forget about it. But now just seeing the clips and knowing there's fans of it, and yourself, Davey, and I just have a totally new perspective on it. And, I'm really, I'm just happy to know that, and that, it had some impact. It really pleases me.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, because to be honest, like, don't get me wrong, it has a big following, like, in the West as well, like in America and in Europe and the UK. But really, Japan are crazy about the game. Not like as much as they are about, say, Final Fantasy, but just to give you a little idea of what it's like for Japan. A few months ago, they did a little like video game store thing, and they do it for loads of games, but they decided they're going to do it for Grandia. So they decided, right, we're going to make some new merch. We're going to make T-shirts, key rings, little figurines, blah 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 blah. They sold out their entire stock within 48 hours.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
We're talking like, and there's people in this chat right now. I know that Quill is one of them. I know he ordered about £250 worth of stuff. And if you want to see like pictures of all that stuff, I'll gladly send them over to you. Grandia bar, the Grandia bar.
A Mullen character, or a little something of Mullen, or
I'm sure there's one or two things. I'm sure there's one or two things where it's like you could get like one of 12, and I'm sure Mullen was one of the characters. It would have made sense. You wouldn't do something for like 12 of the Grandia characters and it not have Mullen be one of them. And Quill is confirming, yep, the merch that they did sell is top quality. It took a while to ship over, unfortunately, just because of like COVID restrictions, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But when it got there, it was real quality. And yeah, there is a huge people are still willing to be like, shut up and take my money, when it comes to Grandia.
Wow. Yeah, it's something. It's something that I just had no idea.
Yeah, the chat's just telling me now all about it, because a lot of them actually bought it. Me being stupid, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. I'll wait till payday, and then I'll put an order in. Wait till payday, gone. And I was just like, really? If there's one person on this earth that should own some Grandia merchandise,
right. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Oh, that was a mistake on my part. I should have known what I was dealing with. And Mullen mugs exist. Mullen mugs do exist. The chat is telling me.
Oh.
There's little pin badges with all of the main characters, Mullen included.
Okay.
Little acrylic stands, stuff like that. I know there's like Grandia glasses. Just lots of nifty little things. Right, let me just have a look, see here. So, would you be up for doing in the future more fan engagement as far as Grandia goes? I'm talking about things such as signings for charity and signing like the game and merchandise for fans, playing the game online and streaming it, and even possibly going to gaming conventions and expos.
Sure, absolutely. If people wanted that, I'd certainly be up for that. Absolutely.
That is awesome. That is good to know, because if it was only like one or two
other characters, the other voice actors too. I mean, that would be
be
really fun.
I'll do that, and
as well as fans.
I'll say this like while we're actually on the chat, so that it's like people do know my future plans. I do want to do, hopefully this year, if not definitely next year, depending on how many more actors I find, if I'm able to get everybody, like, you know, to get be available at the same time. I would love to do a reunion of sorts.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, that'd be great.
Like online. Like I can tell you straight up, Scott Beers, who's General Bull, if we was to reunite even just you two, General Bull and Colonel Mullen, father and son, people would freak out.
Yeah, that would be something.
And I think also, because there is an extended scene in the game where basically the party gets split up. Mullen ends up going with Feena, and Justin ends up going with Lean. So like they sort of swap for a bit because they get lost in these ruins. So you and Feena actually do have a few scenes together, so, and I do know Angela Anderson. So reuniting you two, that would definitely be interesting as well.
Well, and definitely Mullen and Lane, of course.
And you see, that is one issue. I knew that was going to come up. Mullen and Lane. Unfortunately, Nicole Wace, I have not been able to track down as of yet, but I am following up on leads. I think it's a case that I may have found them, but they haven't checked. I've sent it to a defunct inbox, or it might have gone to spam. This is one of the hardest parts about the detective work, because obviously it's unsolicited. No one knows who I am. I don't have any mutual friends. If I get listed as, you know, oh, this person's obviously spam, 9 times out of 10 they won't see the message. Like, but there are ways around it, but you usually have to find, like, for instance, like with you, the workaround was I got your actual work email and like managed to like go through that route. Other people I've had to go through like their acting troops and stuff like that, but there's always a way around. I'm sure I will find Lean, because I've at least got a name to go on, and it's not a very common name. Like, I'm pretty sure that will happen in the future, but as of right now, yeah, I haven't got Lean. But
did any of the other voice actors you've interviewed, did any of them still act? Are they still in the business? Or
yeah, Angela Anderson is still in her acting group. She actually is in that with her husband. Scott Beers, General Bull, he is also still very busy doing a lot of projects. He works a lot more like behind the camera now, I think, rather than in front of it. He's always doing stuff. Trying to think off the top of my head, and I apologize if any of them are listening and I'm getting this totally wrong. As far as I know, Sharon Coleman, who's the Ete and Milda, I don't know if I think she is still an active actress, but she does a lot with her voice. She went on, she did a lot more stuff with her voice, like commercials and stuff like that, radio commercials. I think Blaney Aikman, she's not in acting anymore. She's got a legit office job, I think, now, and is very busy taking care of 2 young kids. But it should be said that all of the voice actors I've spoken to, they've all like said that they'd be up for reprising, you know, the Grandia role.
Great.
Whether or not they're still an actor or not, you know. You know, they'd still come back just for the fun of it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the chat here. I'll write some scripts if you realize that way you're not scrambling for YouTube vids and second-hand accounts of the scenes. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Let's have a look here. Yeah, getting the whole cast together in a voice call, that would be amazing. But as far as getting the entire cast, I wouldn't say, Tim, for you to hold your breath on that one, or for anyone else to hold their breath, because Justin is not credited, doesn't have a name, only has a rumoured name. Gadwin is not credited, doesn't have a name, doesn't even have a rumoured name. And Rapp is credited as John W. I need a bit more than that to go on, right?
Yeah, that would probably be a tough find, John W.
Oh yeah, and also Feena works at a hotel, I think, as receptionist, and people are. It's funny. She works as like a receptionist at a hotel, as like a side gig, I think. And like people were like, when we revealed that, we were like, which hotel? We're all gonna book it. We're all gonna book it. Oh, sorry, laptop's making noises at me. Okay, this is a final call. We're getting up to about that hour, that perfect little hour and a half thing. So this is final call to the chat. Everyone in the chat now, if you have not put your statement, question, or voice request in for Mr. Bosley, this is your final chance to do so. Alrighty? I'm just looking at what the chat's saying here. Yeah, it's true. The main character was not credited, guys.
That is surprising.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if it had something to do with it being a non-union gig. You know, because often, like, a lot of the times, you know, actors use fake names and stuff like that, you know, to get around, like, union stuff. But I have no idea. Or maybe it might have just been that the actor just decided they didn't like their work and just, you know, had it in their contract they could request to be taken off. I have no idea.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah. All right, we're getting some questions in here. Do you remember, like, how many hours you spent voicing Colonel Mullen?
I think it was probably 4 to 6 hours. It was all it really took.
And I'm sure you had breaks in between and you had plenty of water and stuff like that.
Yeah, a couple of breaks, and yeah, you had your water, and you sit in the room and they say this, and you might say it 5 different times and maybe 5 slightly different variations, and once they got the one you liked, you'd move on to the next line.
Did you have someone at least like setting the scene for you? Like, okay, so in this scene, like, Mullen's just been defeated by Justin, and like he's laid on the floor, and he's like, you know, he realizes plans are all at a must, and your character then says this. Like, but did they at least give you that sort of thing?
They give you some kind of lead in, so it's not just, you know, you're not just reading the line without having any sense of where it's coming from. Yeah, they are giving you a lead in to, you know, so you have some understanding of what's just occurred or what's going to occur, just so you can kind of draw on that to try to give them what they want in terms of how they want it to sound.
Oh, that's real cool. That's real cool. And is that ringing any bells, any memories of like specific scenes where you're like, oh yeah, I remember being directed like for this one scene that I was like, what's this?
You know, I do. The things I probably remember the most are those ones. There's those little, and I don't know why those stick out, but
well,
I remember those the most.
That's interesting because Scott Beers said that they were the hardest lines to do. Those little grunts.
Yeah, and and I don't know. Those do stick out for me. The lines don't necessarily stick out, but those do.
Yeah, because a lot of them,
those are really out of context because you're just, you know, they're not giving you any kind of lead in on those. It's just, hey, give me a grunt, or give me or give me, and
well, the scene, because interesting enough, all of those grunts, I mean, obviously, like the characters that you actually can play as, like Justin, for instance, you'll hear them throughout the game because obviously Justin's going to get hit in battles all over the place. But Mullen's, there's only one battle with Mullen, so all those grunts in that were for the sake of one battle.
One battle.
And it's on the second disc. It takes a while to get to, but when you get to it, you'll be like, oh, I remember that grunt, like, you know.
Yes.
And you would have had to have do all of them 3 times because you can get hit by like a light combo attack, a heavy critical attack, a special attack, or hit by magic.
Okay.
Anyway, we've got a few more stuff in the chat here. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. All right, here's one. A voice request from Vitgeron.
Okay.
Next time, I will be the main hero. Ha ha ha.
Next time, I will be the main hero. Ha 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 ha.
So yeah, Bosfera2 says, great interview, thank you to both of you. I don't really have a statement to make other than I wish Mullen had been a playable character. You know, me too, that would have been really cool.
Which characters could you play with?
Off the top of my head, that would be Justin, Sue, Feena, Guido, I'm going to get this wrong, Rap, Liette, Milda. I think that's it. I think. Yeah, because there's certain characters. There's characters that like look like they're going to be in your party, like Rem, this little kid, but he's not actually in your party. He's just following you around. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't play as Mullen. And they really should have made him a playable character. Okay, here's a good one from Captain Riku. The game is majorly underrated, but tops the charts on most, if not all, JRPGs. How does it feel to be a hidden gem lead character?
It feels great. Like I've said, I had no idea, and now knowing that it has a following and knowing that it was so well loved by people, it's given me a whole new perspective on that entire process and the game itself and the people that enjoy it so much. I'm just looking really forward to finding it on the Switch and giving it a play myself. I just think it's great.
Absolutely. If you're planning to stream it, you might find it easier to stream on like the PC Steam version. But it's entirely up to you. I mean, it's totally possible to get the Switch working. I think you might need a bit more hardware to stream via the Switch, is all. Which your son might already have it, for all I know. Just a heads up there.
Okay.
This one's from my dad. He's also one of my moderators on my channel. Mr. Bosley seems an amazing person, and it was a pleasure to listen to him and thank him for giving up his time.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I was happy to do it, and I appreciate you reaching out to everyone, Davey, and doing this for everyone. It's I really enjoyed it. Really,
it's my pleasure, sir. Thank you for the time.
That it would come to anything, and happy it's come to this.
So we got a lot more fun to do like down the line. I've got plans. Like that's all I can usually say is I've got plans, guys. I got plans. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, Kasovitz says like, yep, thanks for the time, guys. It's been a pretty cool stream. Spoodle Noodle says, I'm just happy as a clam being able to listen in for this interview.
We're happy to give it.
Oh, I forgot Gadwin. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I forgot Gadwin. Gadwin is a playable character. Yeah, Gadwin is a playable character. Sorry. And yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you wanted to stream like with the Switch, you'd need a capture card. You can pick them up relatively cheap. But that's cool. Yes, Toy Kyle, you are indeed late. You are indeed late to the stream. Because it's just about to end. We're on like our final 5 minutes here. I guess I will. Is there anything that you feel like that I maybe missed when it comes to talking about like your acting life, Mr. Bosley, that you'd like to talk about at all?
No, like I said, it was actually fairly short-lived. Only really about 4 years. Not ended, just on hold. I plan to resume someday because it really was. I really did find it enjoyable doing different aspects, whether it was voice or commercials or the movie, or it's such a chance to just step outside yourself and be another character for a little while. It was something I never thought I would get into, but really enjoyed it much more than I ever thought I would. So I hope to get back to it when I retire from my current position in about 7 years.
Oh, that's real cool. And yeah, that's for the final question here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here's a good one. So basically, like, it's another voice request. We got the voice of Sue, who's like a little kid in the game. She's like Justin's best friend / sidekick. We got her to say like, oh yeah, let's go out and get pissed. So now in that similar sort of vein, could you say in Mullen's voice, Solene?
What was that? Let's go out and get pissed. Is that the?
No. The line they want you to say, like, as a sort of response to it, is Solene, want to grab drinks later?
Solene, do you want to grab drinks later?
That one's getting clipped. I know when I hear the line, that was perfect. That was flipping perfect. Thank you for that. Like, that's going to get clipped. And I kid you, I'm not even kidding. I did one with Angela, voice of Feena, and like within like a day, it was already clipped and like gone onto Twitter and all sorts. Clip. Yeah. Everybody's clipping. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Tim. That was really, really cool.
Thank you, Davey. Yeah,
that's
absolutely. That was such a treat.
That's all right. And if like in the future, if like would I be okay to like send you like say like like a line or two just to like maybe record and send back to me like whenever you get like time to do it?
Sure, absolutely.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, for my final question here, the last thing I always say in all my interviews, is there any message that you, Mr. Bosley, voice of Colonel Mullen, would like to give to the Grandia fans before we sign off?
Let me see. Just keep believing in what you're doing. Go for it, whatever it may be. Just enjoy life, and things you're doing now may come back to strike you 20 years later. So try to do it right.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. You do never know. I think that's a great thing to lead out on. Okay, so I will let you go. Thank you once again, Mr. Tim Bosley, for taking time out of your Saturday. I hope you have a great 4th of July long weekend. You got any plans?
Yeah, we have a little neighborhood things going on. They have a big parade, big couple of parties. So I'm sure I'll partake in a few adult beverages on Monday and have some fun. Not supposed to be too hot either, so that'll be nice.
Nice. Oh well, I hope you have a great. At least you've got something to talk about. Like, hey, I just did an interview with some guy in England,
100%, absolutely.
And we are worldwide, right? Like right now, we are like worldwide. There's people from all over the world like listening to us right now. So you've at least got something to tell them.
It's been the highlight of the weekend, and I'm sure it will be. So.
Oh, well, thank you. The same right back at you.
Appreciate you, Davey, doing this, and appreciate all the people on the chat and the listeners, and like I said, I just think it's great.
Oh, that's great. Well, I will let you get back to your Saturday afternoon, sir. And yeah, everyone's just putting greetings now. Greetings from Austria, greetings from Germany, greetings from Scotland. Just to give you an idea of how international we are right now. And obviously, I'm in England. You're in California.
Yeah, awesome.
That's great. Alrighty. Yep, Brazil, Wales. That's awesome seeing all of you guys here. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. North Carolina, all sorts. You also got fellow Californians in here as well. But yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I will let you go, Mr. Bosley. Thank you very much for your time, and I will be in touch.